I mean, you seem to me to have everything neatly sorted out, and it's very enviable.
You think I have it too planned?
No, I'm not saying you have it too planned.
Well, see, I do think we have a choice in what our lives are going to be like. You see?
We don't have a chance about what's going to hit us when we don't
Okay,
know.
let me tell you this. My impression, I have a certain, I guess, positiveness about my life, but I realize that every time I create a positive thought in my mind, also I create a negative thought. It's just like, I'm going to be very successful. And my mind said, oh, no, you're not, you know? Okay? So since I create positive and negative, it's which one I give the most attention that is powerful. When I think positive constantly, it's very powerful, and it controls me. If I think negative all the time, it's going to control me too. So right now, my positive thought is there is going to be no disaster to destroy what I have planned for me and my family. And if there is, that's life, you know? And I can accept what I get. My intention is for it to work and to be successful, and I will accept what I get. See, I don't have any choice about what my life is going to be like. The only choice I possibly might have is how I'm going to react to it. But I know that I've gotten to the point that what works for me, and I notice that it works for me, is for me to be totally honest.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what I feel right now. Tomorrow it may change. I don't know what my future's like. But I know that if I'm totally honest, I can't go wrong. The truth will set you free, you know, and that's why I feel I have nothing to hide.
Even though it's harsh at time, it is
well,
harsh
that's
at time.
absolutely.
Where does all this energy come from? I mean, you talk not like a kind of Niagara, which is good, thank God.
Sorry about that.
No, please. I mean, please don't apologise for that.
You know, okay.
Where does it come from? This kind of electricity? Is it something which is to do with your family, or is it something to do with the fact that you're a coloured lady, or a black lady, shall we say? Do you know where it comes from, or is it just entirely you alone? Is it just
I haven't always been this way. I really do feel that it's a matter of maturing and my just taking a look at who I am and what I wanted out of life.
But
and
you
how
do work
happy I
hard,
was.
though, don't you?
Yes, I do. I like to work. You know, when someone asks Berry Gordy, why is she going out in church? She doesn't have to work. No, I don't have to work anymore. Not really. I can be with my kids. I enjoy it. I don't have to make any money on this tour. I really don't. It's a certain amount of things that is expected of me, and I don't know, that just keeps me going. I'm alive. I have to move and do things. I can't just...
You sure as hell are, baby, I'll tell you.
And if, whatever energy that I possibly have, if I create that for other people, that's what I'm here for. You know, I have a purpose. I never really knew what my purpose was until maybe a couple years.
Are you into religion in any way?
I think I'm on the path of a spiritual awareness. I don't know really so much about religion. I never really, until recently, took a look at myself in this universe, and I guess I'm on that path. I really don't know. See, I have a certain amount of understanding about my life, and I'm holding it in the palm of my hand. And I don't want to hold it too tight because it'll come out. It's like sand, you know?
Or toothpaste.
And then I don't want to lose it like that. So I want to hold it gently and hold on to what I have become clear on.
You know you'd be a marvelous preacher, don't you? Know that?
Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to preach. I just want to be understood, that's all.
Well, now look.
I think that more than anything, I'm moved by God. And my definition of God may be different from other folks. My definition of God is the highest supreme feeling of beauty and light and happiness from up there. It's not no man with no beard. Ain't nobody trying to smite me down. You know, it's light, and that's all it is. And I know it very well. And when I'm in stage, it's a wave of feeling. I can feel it. I can sense it. I can breathe it. And I can see it in the people's faces. And it's back and forth, and it's exchanged, and it's kinetic. And that's what I feel more than anything. Ain't really no spirits. It's good spirits, if anything, but it's godliness, it's happiness, it's uniqueness. I was broke. I've been emancipated since I was 16. I bought my own laptop. I didn't have anything. Like, I lived with my dad, but I had to, provide for myself. I didn't have Wi-Fi in my home. I didn't have a laptop for a long time, and I didn't have a cell phone. I would always be at the library getting Wi-Fi or being on the computer. Most of the business transactions, touring, a lot of stuff I did in the early days, I was at the library doing that. I had an Obama phone, like government Obama phone. And I remember being in high school, my later, like 19, 20 years old, I went back to high school, I had dropped out. I was Wavy Spice at high school, like Princess Nokia, or I don't know, I don't remember actually. I think I was just Wavy Spice. However, I was just doing all this cool shit off this little phone. And I think, like, it takes a lot of balls to admit that, number one. And number two, it takes a lot of balls to be able to be so resourceful with so little. And I have just encompassed, like, I'm like a gutsy little resourceful kid, you know? And that's just me. When I became 19, 20 years old, I started to embark on a spiritual shift within my own personal individual self. I could no longer attend parties the way I used to, actually. I became really sensitive to the energies around me. And I'd realized that my essentially my energy and my intentions, or whatever I was about or feeling, was very different from everyone around me, and it was very apparent. And then I realized that I started becoming really anxious and nervous at parties, and I started realizing how people saw me, and it maybe wasn't the most positive thing, and the shadiness just wasn't worth it, wasn't at all, and it just wasn't fun for me anymore. And I had to take and then I kind of like looked back on my life and was like, all right, I'm gonna retract from this, and I'm gonna just focus on me and my art and kind of things that I was starting to be into at the time. Started to be really into hiking and praying, and that kind of took over my party life. I always knew I spent a lot of time alone because I was different and I was weird and I was very unique, and a lot of people didn't understand me. So I was forced to spend a lot of time alone. I was forced to spend a lot of time at home alone because I wasn't allowed to have friends or play dates. All up in here, with a lot of love though, thankfully. Thankfully I didn't become a dog person. I think that I'd always spent my life alone in some facet or another. I was familiar with it. But when I began studying spiritual discipline, you learn that spiritual solitude is a huge component in self-evolution. And when you want to evolve, or you are evolving, regardless if you want to or not, like someone like myself, who is developing clairvoyant abilities by the age of 20, because that's my genetic disposition as a Caribbean person, just comes to you. It comes to you, and you have to accept it. And you could denounce it if you want. It's gonna be a hard life after that, though. You're gonna be at odds with yourself. So I started, understanding, studying, reading. It came to the point where it says in many books, many esoteric spiritual books, that it's gonna come to a point where you're not gonna relate to people anymore, and people are not gonna relate to you. And the things that you used to share your time with, or anything, whether it be the parties, girl, the men I was with, the friends I used to be friends with, they didn't relate to it no more. So it was a time where I had to have solitude and force myself into solitude, because I wasn't trying to play myself. If something wasn't right for me, I couldn't force myself in it. My body was rejecting it, my mind was rejecting it, my spirit was rejecting it. So I had to be alone. And then I accepted it. And I was like, okay, this is what comes with it. It's a gift and a curse. In order to advance as a spiritual person or a clairvoyant person, I have to accept these things that come with it.
I think it would be hard for men to meet you because they'd be intimidated by who you are and your celebrity, and they'd just be too scared to come forward.
A lot of males might be intimidated, but not men. Men rise to the occasion with no sweat. Right? Am I right or am I right?
And once they get to you, you know you've separated the males from the men.
Hello.
That God navigates my ship. There's nothing cerebral going on. There's very little, there's very little thought. It's almost as if I have the directions. Every time I try to do it myself, I'm conjuring up my own concoction and trying, it's a little more difficult to do it that way because it takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of energy. But it's like when I'm led, it kind of really is just it's all there and it's clear. These are your orders. Just go forth and carry them out. And there are certain gifts that each of us have. The gifts we don't have to worry about so much because God gave them to us. It's the living, it's the life, it's the now. It's wisdom without understanding is, what is it? How do you're so wise, you're so intelligent, but how do you apply that to your life? you know, I don't want to be religious. I want to be spiritual. You know, anybody can be religious. Some people jog religiously. You know, you don't want to be that. You want to be spiritual. You want to have a relationship with God as opposed to doing what everyone else does. You know, they didn't know what would come of it just because I enjoyed it. You know, and to me, that's a reflection of love, when someone can see you enjoying yourself and want to participate or want to encourage or want to help you to do something that you enjoy. You know, it wasn't about making her a star. It was just, hey, she likes to do this, let's support it. But, you know, if you love something, man, you know, if you love something and if you're committed and diligent, you know, the things that happen, I mean, you know, there's some people who are blessed with gifts, but then there are certain people who can work toward, you know, even with the gift that I have now, I mean, I've leaned on God for so long. Hey, God, you just gave me this gift, and I'm just going to go out there and sing. But it's only now that I'm realizing how much larger and how expansive my gift becomes when I actually pay attention to it and try to you know, practice and try to perfect it. You know, if you plant the seed, if you sow sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. If you sow in abundance, you'll reap in abundance. So that was, you know, always sort of in us from very young. So even the things that I loved, I tried to, you know, put a couple seeds in the, you know, a bunch of seeds in the ground and see what sprung up. And sometimes it was acting and sometimes it was music. But whatever it was, I continued to plant. But life is continued work. It's constant learning. The whole concept of retirement, I don't even buy into. You know, we should constantly be working, maybe not physically working, but we could be spiritually, emotionally working toward bettering ourselves and bettering the lives of others around us. You know, that's not what it's all about. Once you compromise yourself in one way, you compromise yourself in another way. And you've just opened the door to, you know, compromise, mediocrity, settling. And I don't mean, when I say mediocrity, I don't mean, I mean that we should constantly be aspiring, you know, to reach higher and higher and higher. We should never be comfortable where we are. You know, we should always be aspiring to know more and to better ourselves and to improve ourselves, you know, to improve ourselves. Because that's how we improve the world around us, by working within us. You improve yourself, light up the corner that you live on. You know, you may not touch a gazillion lives, but you can light up your own space, light up your home.
That I think everything is based on intention.
Mm-hmm.
And art is the playing field between angels and demons.
Hmm.
And magic is everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And magic is based off the form of intention. And I think all universal law is based off the form of intention.
You say words are things and that they're so powerful. So what words do you turn to for comfort?
Love. And again, see, I think love is that condition in the human spirit so profound that it allows us to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be the energy which keeps the stars in the firmament.
Yes.
I'm not sure. It may be the energy which keeps the blood running smoothly through our veins. I'm not sure. But it's something beyond the explanation. It can be used for anything you can explain, any good thing you can explain. When I was 7.5, I was raped. I won't say severely raped. All rape is severe. The rapist was a person very well known to my family. I was hospitalized. The rapist was let out of jail and was found dead that night, and the police suggested that the rapist had been kicked to death. I was 7.5. I thought that I had caused the man's death because I had spoken his name. That was my 7.5-year-old logic. So I stopped talking for 5 years. Now, to show you again how out of evil there can come good, when I decided to speak, I had a lot to say. So out of this evil, which was a dire kind of evil, because rape on the body of a young person, more often than not, introduces cynicism. And there is nothing quite so tragic as a young cynic, because it means the person has gone from knowing nothing to believing nothing. In my case, I was saved in that muteness. You see, in the sorada, I was saved. And I was able to draw from human thought, human disappointments and triumphs, enough to triumph myself. I thought for a long time that my grandmother was God. She was so tall. And she used to tell me, sister, Mama don't know what she's going to do. Mama just going to step out on the word. Just step out on the word of God. People call me stupid, dumb, a moron, an idiot, because I didn't speak for 6 years. I was a mute. And Mama used to tell me when she'd braid my hair was huge and very curly. My mama would say, sister, Mama don't care what these people say, but you must be an idiot, you must be a moron, because you can't talk. Sister, Mama don't care. Mama know when you and the good Lord get ready, you're going to be a teacher. Sister, you're going to teach all over this world. I used to sit there and think, this poor ignorant woman, doesn't she know I will never speak? I've taught at the Bima Theater in Israel, in Tel Aviv. I've taught in Egypt. I've been distinguished visiting professor at the University of Exeter in England. I've taught in Rome and all over the United States. And each time I have another honor, I think of my grandma. She told me, sister, when you get, give. When you learn, teach. These are lessons to live by. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. I am grateful to have been loved and to be loved now and to be able to love, because that liberates. Love liberates. It doesn't just hold. That's ego. Love liberates. You see, love liberates. It doesn't bind. Love says, I love you. I love you if you're in China. I love you if you're across town. I love you if you're in Harlem. I love you. I would like to be near you. I'd like to have your arms around me. I'd like to hear your voice in my ear. But that's not possible now, so I love you. Go. Maybe the hardest part is if you teach, you have to live your teaching. You can't say, you do not as I do, but do as I say. No. You have to say, I'm doing my best to live what I teach. Say, now, sister, you know what's right. Just do right. You don't really have to ask anybody. The truth is, right may not be expedient. It may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul. It brings you the kind of protection that bodyguards can't give you. Try to be all you can be, to be the best human being you can be. Try to be that in your church, in your temple. Try to be that in your classroom. Do it because it is right to do. You see, people will know you, and they will add their prayers to your life, they'll wish you well. I think if your name is mentioned and people say, oh, hell, oh, damn, I think you're doing something wrong. But if your name is mentioned and people say, oh, she's so sweet, he's so nice, oh, I love, oh, God bless her, there you are. So try to live your life in a way that you will not regret years of useless virtue and inertia and timidity. Take up the battle. Take it up. It's yours. This is your life. This is your world. I'll be leaving it long before you under the ordinary set of circumstances. You make your own choices. You can decide life isn't worth living. And that would be the worst thing you can do. How do you know? So far. Try it. See. So pick it up. Pick up the battle and make it a better world. Just where you are. Yes. And it can be better, and it must be better, but it is up to us. I've learned a few things. First, I'm aware that I'm a child of God. It's such an amazing understanding to think that the it, which made fleas and mountains and rivers and stars, made me. What I prayed for is humility, to know that there is something greater than I. And I have to know that the brute, the bigot, and the batterer are all children of God, whether they know it or not. And I'm supposed to treat them accordingly. And it's hard, and I blow it all the time.
Mongrel class of people.
I'd like everybody to think of a statement by Terence. The statement is, I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. If you can internalize the least portion of that, you will never be able to say of an act, a criminal act, oh, I couldn't do that. No matter how heinous the crime, if a human being did it, you have to say, I have in me all the components that are in her or in him. I intend to use my energies constructively as opposed to destructively. If you can do that about the negative, just think what you can do about the positive. If a human being dreams a great dream, dares to love somebody, if a human being dares to be Martin King or Mahatma Gandhi or Malcolm X, if a human being dares to be bigger than the condition into which she or he was born, it means so can you. And so you can try to stretch yourself. So you can internalize, homo sum, humani nihila me alienum puto. I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. She asked me, you're leaving my house? I said, yes, ma'am, and you're taking the baby? I said, yes. She said, all right, remember this. When you step over my door sill, you've been raised. You know the difference between right and wrong. Do right. Don't let anybody raise you and make you change. And remember this, you can always come home. I went home every time life slammed me down and made me call it uncle. I went home with my baby. My mother never once acted as I told you so. She said, oh, baby's home. Oh, my darling, Mom's gonna cook you something. Mother's gonna make this for you. Love. She liberated me to life. She continued to do that. I was 22 years old. She said, wait a minute, baby. You know, I think you're the greatest woman I've ever met. She said, Mary McLeod Bethune, Eleanor Roosevelt, and my mother, you're in that category. Then she said, give me a kiss. I gave her a kiss, and I got onto the streetcar. I can remember the way the sun fell on the slats of the wooden seats. I sat there and I thought about her. I thought, suppose she's right. She's intelligent. And she says she's too mean to lie. So suppose I am going to be somebody. She released me. She freed me to say I may have something in me that would be of value. Maybe not just to me. See? That's love. And when she was in her final sickness, I went out to San Francisco. And the doctor said she had three weeks to live. I asked her, would you come to North Carolina? She said yes. She had emphysema and lung cancer. I brought her to my home. She lived for 1.5 years. And when she was finally, in extremis, she was on oxygen and fighting cancer for her life. And I remembered her liberating me. And I said, I hope I'll be able to liberate her. She deserved that from me. She deserved a great daughter, and she got one. So in her last days, I said, now, I understand that some people need permission to go. As I understand it, you may have done what God put you here to do. You were a great worker. You must have been a great lover, because a lot of men, and if I'm not wrong, maybe a couple of women, risk their lives to love you. You were a piss-poor mother of small children, but you were a great mother of young adults. And if you need permission to go, I liberate you. I went back to my house, and something said, go back. I was in my pajamas. I jumped in my car and ran, and the nurse said, she's just gone. You see, love liberates. It doesn't bind. Love says, I love you. I love you if you're in China. I love you if you're across town. I love you if you're in Harlem. I love you. I would like to be near you. I'd like to have your arms around me. I'd like to hear your voice in my ear. But that's not possible now. So I love you. Go.
Stupid. A man comes into my life and I have to compromise? You must think about that one again. A man comes into my life and you have to compromise for what? For what? For what? A relationship is a relationship that has to be earned, not to compromise for. And I love relationships. I think they're fantastic. They're wonderful. I think they're great. I think there's nothing in the world more beautiful than falling in love. But falling in love for the right reasons, falling in love for the right purpose, falling in love. Falling in love. When you fall in love, what is there to compromise about?
Isn't love a union between two people? Or does Eartha fall in love with herself?
I think if you were to think about it in terms of analyzing, yes, I fall in love with myself and I want someone to share it with me. I want someone to share me with me. So my connection to my blackness is very powerful and strong, and I'm very proudful. And at the same time, I'm very aware of my privilege as a light-skinned woman. But at the same time, I'm not going to deny that I'm black. I can't apologize for being mixed. But what I can do is try to erase the demonization of blackness within my country and then within our culture. Because everybody is okay with being Taino, but nobody wants to be black. As Queen Afua said, she said, if you don't know the people that bore you, you'll never know yourself. When I started really evolving as a woman, because when I started making music, I wasn't evolved. I was a little teenage girl with a stick up my ass, with a big ass ego, who thought the world owed me something. And then I started finding myself. And I started realizing a lot of things. And I realized that I'm a woman of substance. I'm a woman of magic. I'm a woman of like a lot of beauty that comes from a really core place in my country and in my family. I come from a mother who has born me out of magic. She said, what you do for me is enough. You love and you revere me so much. You keep me in your home. You keep me in mind when you make your art. That's okay. Your intention is pure. You don't use me for other gain. You use me because you just want my companionship. That's beautiful. That's Ashe right there. So I'm filled with Ashe as it is because her love is so strong, because she is the mother that has guided me my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, that was just it. I was just like down, I was with the shits from jump.
Yes.
But I don't have politics, I have principles. This is about principles and not politics. But my principles have clear intentions, and they have clear accuracy from where I see things. The keys on self-love, self-help, is that you have to commit to it. And with self-love, I have to reiterate every morning, like, yeah, we learn about self-love, we learn about positivity, we learn about affirmation. It can sound corny, it can sound cliche, but every morning, I truly look to the sky and tell myself, I am a beautiful, beautiful woman. I am capable, I am limitless, I am infinite, I am magical, I am powerful, I am ascending. I have to tell myself that every day, because if I don't, she says that in order to change your life or to prolong a healthy life or a sacred life, you have to commit to health first. After, holistic stuff. What am I consuming into my body? Has to be godliness, has to be goodness. I gotta take time with myself, take time with my health. I spend a lot of time in solitude.
I'm practicing a way of life, and our ancestors taught based on a way of life, and that lifestyle was based on ma'at. And an English translation would be balance. That's what holistic health is about. That's why you would go to spiritual houses, is to get the balance, to get the harmony.
Right.
And so that term is called ma'at, which means balance, truth, righteousness, harmony, reciprocity.
Right, right.
And that's something we all need. Right? It's a Kemetic term that we all need, that balance. And it's based on a scale.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
A scale. On one side of the scale, there is the feather, and the other side is the heart. And it says that our hearts, our ancestors have told us that our hearts must be balanced every day. And if our hearts are heavy, that's an aneurysm, a heart attack, a stroke, depression, violence in the home, quick to argue. All of these are dysfunctions that we have because our hearts are not balanced, and we don't know how to live a balanced lifestyle.
Right.
So I go back to the beginning. One person at a time builds a new city.
Okay.
So I'm saying that there's a city of wellness. If you start to heal, that means your family can heal. And just like disease can spread, wellness can also spread. And so we do it through food as medicine, and I give over 250 recipes to begin to cleanse the household. And I said the kitchen is your first line of defense to restore the house, and that's your nutrition kitchen pharmacy.
Okay.
Go inside that kitchen and make juice to begin to heal the bones and joints.
For example, I am just like you. I am brown, poor, oppressed kid from whatever the walks of life I came from. yo, life is short. Make the best of it as you can. And love yourself, goddammit, because you was made to live in a world that tell you not to love yourself. So loving yourself is the most revolutionary thing you could do because it facilitates so much happiness within your path. It took me a long time to learn that. But in these spaces, I want to share that with y'all. That loving yourself, having joy for no reason, that's the goal. Fuck anything else. Those are the real hashtag goals.